The stars had never looked so threatening. Admiral Taemin Park stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the alien ships approach through the main view screen. After months of radio communications, this was humanity's first face-to-face, meeting with beings from another world. The weight of representing all of Earth pressed heavily on his shoulders. "Sir, the alien fleet is taking position 3,000 kilometers off our starboard bow," reported Captain So-Ra Kim from her station. Her voice was steady, but Taemin could see the tension in her posture. Everyone on the bridge felt it. The alien ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. They looked like living crystals that bent light around them, creating rainbow patterns that hurt to look at directly. Each vessel seemed to flow rather than fly, moving through space as if swimming through water. There were 12 of them, each, one larger than Earth's biggest warship. "They're beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Dong-Soo Han at the communications station. "Beautiful and deadly," Admiral Taemin replied quietly. He had studied every piece of intelligence Earth had gathered about these beings called the Galactic Confederation. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's best efforts. The lead alien ship moved closer, and a holographic projection appeared in the center of the bridge. The figure that materialized was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. It wore flowing robes that seemed to shift color as it moved. "I am Ambassador Velnara of the Etherian Empire speaking for the Galactic Confederation," the alien said. Its voice was musical, almost hypnotic. "We greet the primitive inhabitants of the third planet." Admiral Taemin stepped forward. "I am Admiral Taemin Park of the United Earth Space Force. We welcome you to our solar system." Velnara's head tilted slightly, and Taemin caught what might have been amusement in those alien features. "Your Space Force. Yes, we have observed your vessels. Most interesting." The way the ambassador said "interesting" made it clear that was not a compliment. "Perhaps you would allow us to tour one of your warships?" Velnara continued. "We are always curious about the military capabilities of new species." Admiral Taemin exchanged glances with Captain So-Ra Kim. They had prepared for this request. Earth's leadership had decided to be completely open about their current military technology. After all, hiding it would be pointless against beings who could probably scan their ships from across the solar system. "Of course," Taemin replied. "Captain Kim will give you a full tour of our flagship." 2 hours later, Ambassador Velnara and 3 other alien delegates walked through the corridors of the Indomitable. Captain So-Ra Kim led the tour, explaining each system as they went. The aliens listened politely, but their body language spoke volumes. In the weapons bay, one of the delegates actually laughed out loud. "Projectile weapons?" the alien said, pointing at the massive rail guns. "You fire chunks of metal at your enemies? These tungsten rounds can penetrate most known armor types," Captain Kim explained patiently. "How delightfully primitive," Velnara said, with what was clearly condescension. "We have not used kinetic weapons for over 2,000 years. Energy-based systems are far more efficient." The aliens examined the railguns with the same interest humans might show when looking at ancient catapults in a museum. They took detailed scans, asked technical questions, and made notes on their strange crystalline devices. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Woo Jin Nam proudly showed off Earth's most advanced fusion drives. The aliens were polite, but clearly unimpressed. "Fusion propulsion," one delegate noted. "We used similar systems in our early space age. Our current vessels use quantum displacement drives that can move us across the galaxy in days rather than years." The tour continued through the ship's defensive systems, communications array, and life support. At each stop, the aliens found something to criticize or dismiss as outdated. Their comments were not meant to be cruel, but their casual dismissal of human achievement stung everyone who heard it. In the main conference room, Admiral Taemin Park and Admiral Hyun-Woo Lee waited with Earth's diplomatic team. When the tour group returned, the aliens took their seats across from the humans. "Your vessel is quite sturdy," Ambassador Velnara began diplomatically. "Very robust construction, like the war machines our ancestors built before we learned better ways." "We build our ships to last," Admiral Hyun-Woo replied carefully. "Indeed, such thick armor plating must be necessary when you lack proper energy shielding," Velnara observed. "And those enormous weapons must compensate for poor targeting systems." The alien ambassador activated a holographic display showing images of Confederation warships. The vessels were sleek and elegant, their hulls gleaming with energy fields that pulsed like heartbeats. "Our ships are living works of art," Velnara explained. "Each one grown rather than built, shaped by harmonic frequencies that align matter at the quantum level. They are protected by layered energy shields that can deflect any attack, and armed with plasma weapons that can vaporize entire mountains." The human officers watched in silence as the display showed alien weapons reducing asteroids to glowing gas with single shots. The demonstration was clearly meant to impress, but it felt more like a threat. "Your species shows promise," Velnara continued. "The Confederation recognizes that younger races need time to develop. We offer Earth membership in our organization as a protected species." "Protected species?" Admiral Taemin asked. "Yes. You would be placed under our guidance and protection while your civilization matures. In perhaps 1,000 years, when you have developed proper technology and abandoned these crude weapons, you might qualify for full membership." The insult was delivered so smoothly that it took a moment for its full meaning to sink in. The aliens were offering to make Earth a colony, run by beings who thought humans were barely above cavemen. "We appreciate the offer," Admiral Hyun-Woo said carefully. "But Earth values its independence." "Independence?" Another alien delegate spoke up, its voice sharp with surprise. "Young species often suffer from such pride. Look at your weapons, your ships, your technology. You are children playing with dangerous toys. Without our protection, you will destroy yourselves within centuries. Or others will destroy you first," Velnara added meaningfully. "The galaxy is not a safe place for species that cannot defend themselves properly." Captain Sora Kim felt her jaw clench. The aliens were not just offering protection. They were threatening what would happen without it. "We will need time to consider your offer," Admiral Taemin said diplomatically. "Of course," Velnara replied graciously. "Take all the time you need. We will remain in your system for several of your weeks to answer any questions." As the aliens prepared to leave, one final insult came disguised as helpful advice. "Admiral Park," Velnara said, "you might consider decommissioning these warships before they cause an accident. Metal projectiles fired in space can travel for light years before hitting something important. Very dangerous for a young species to have such weapons." The aliens departed in their graceful crystal ships, leaving the human officers standing in stunned silence. "Sir," Captain Kim said quietly, "did they just tell us to disarm ourselves?" "Among other things," Admiral Taemin replied grimly. He looked out at the alien fleet, beautiful and terrible against the stars. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them the aliens consider us primitive and harmless. Is that a problem, sir? Admiral Taman Park smiled coldly. Captain, that might be the biggest mistake they ever made. In space, the alien ships hung motionless, their occupants secure in their superiority over the crude humans and their laughable metal weapons. They had no idea that their casual mockery had just sealed their fate. Earth was about to show them exactly how dangerous primitive species could be. 3 months had passed since the aliens first arrived, and Fleet Commander Junho Shin was getting worried. His job was to monitor alien ship movements throughout the solar system, and what he saw kept him awake at night. "Sir, we have another group moving into position near Jupiter," reported his aide, Lieutenant Minji Park. She pointed to the tactical display showing dozens of red dots scattered throughout human space. "That makes 47 alien vessels in our system now." Junho studied the display with growing concern. The aliens claimed these were just diplomatic escorts and scientific survey teams, but their positioning told a different story. Every major shipping lane, every orbital installation, every possible escape route from Earth was being quietly surrounded. "Have they responded to our request for a reduction in their fleet size?" he asked. "Ambassador Velnara says they need adequate protection while studying our primitive but fascinating culture," Minji replied with barely hidden anger. The aliens had spent 3 months making their opinion of humanity very clear. They toured Earth cities like visitors at a zoo, making comments about human quaintness and potential for growth under proper guidance. Their constant condescension was wearing on everyone's nerves. Meanwhile, more alien ships arrived every week. They came from different species within the Confederation, each one eager to examine the newly discovered humans. The ships were all different. Some looked like living coral, others like geometric crystals, and a few resembled flowing liquid metal. But they all shared the same casual arrogance toward Earth's defenders. At Earth Command Headquarters, in Geneva, President Da-Un Choi was meeting with her military advisors. The mood in the room was tense as Admiral Hyun-Woo Lee delivered his intelligence report. "The pattern is clear," Admiral Lee explained, pointing to a holographic map of the solar system. "They're not here for diplomacy anymore. This is a blockade formation." General Min-Seo Wang leaned forward in her chair. "Our deep space sensors are picking up even more ships massing outside the system. Conservative estimates put their total force at over 3,000 vessels." 3,000, President Choi repeated quietly. Earth's entire space fleet numbered less than 200 ships, and most of those were transport vessels or mining platforms converted for military use. "Ma'am," Admiral Lee continued, "we also intercepted some alien communications. They're growing impatient with our refusal to accept their protection offer." Dr. Eugene Song, the head of military research, pulled up another display. "The aliens have been scanning our installations constantly. They've mapped every military base, every weapons platform, every ship in our fleet. They think they know everything about our capabilities." President Choi smiled grimly. "Good. Let them keep thinking that." The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication from the orbital platform above Earth. Ambassador Velnara was requesting an immediate audience with Earth's leadership. An hour later, the alien diplomat appeared via hologram in the command center. As always, Velnara's presence was both beautiful and unsettling, like a predator wearing jewels. "President Choi," the ambassador began without any greeting pleasantries, "the Confederation has grown concerned about Earth's continued delay in accepting our generous offer. We are still considering your proposal," President Choi replied carefully. 3 months should be sufficient time for any reasonable species to recognize the benefits of Confederation protection, Velnara said coldly. Your hesitation suggests either stubborn pride or dangerous delusions about your military capabilities. The aliens' tone had changed completely from their first meetings. Gone was the condescending politeness, replaced by barely veiled threats. Perhaps a demonstration would help clarify your situation, Velnara continued. The hologram switched to an external view showing several alien ships approaching a large asteroid in the outer system. The rock was roughly the size of a small city, spinning slowly through space. This asteroid represents approximately the same mass as your largest military installation, the ambassador explained. Please observe. One of the alien ships fired a single beam of brilliant energy. The asteroid simply vanished, converted to expanding gas and vapor in an instant. The destruction was so complete that not even debris remained. Our weapons can eliminate any target from any range, Velnara stated flatly. Your thick armor and crude shields would provide no protection whatsoever. Admiral Hyun-Woo Lee felt his hands clench into fists under the conference table. The message was crystal clear. Resistance would be futile. The Confederation has been patient with your species, the ambassador continued. But patience has limits. You have 30 Earth days to formally accept our protection and begin the transition to Confederation oversight. And if we refuse? President Choi asked. Then you will be classified as a hostile species requiring corrective action, Velnara replied smoothly. The Confederation cannot allow dangerous primitives to threaten galactic security with their unpredictable weapons and aggressive tendencies. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. The aliens who had just vaporized an asteroid were calling humans dangerous and aggressive. 30 days, Velnara repeated. We suggest you use that time wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the human leadership in stunned silence. Corrective action, General Wong said bitterly. They're going to exterminate us if we don't surrender. Not exterminate, Dr. Song corrected. Subjugate. They want our planet and our resources. Dead humans can't work in their mines or serve in their factories. President Choi stood up slowly, her face calm despite the anger burning in her eyes. Admiral Lee, how long until Project Sleipnir is fully operational? All primary assets are. In position, ma'am. Secondary systems need another 2 weeks, but we could begin defensive operations immediately if necessary. Good. She turned to address the entire room. Ladies and gentlemen, the aliens have just made a critical error. They think they've been studying us for 3 months, learning our weaknesses and capabilities. She activated a new holographic display, this one showing parts of the solar system that appeared completely empty to alien sensors. What they don't realize is that we've been studying them for much longer. Every scan they've taken, every weapon they've fired, every casual display of their technology has been recorded and analyzed. The display changed to show technical readouts of alien shield frequencies, weapon signatures, and drive emissions. They've shown us exactly how their ships work, President Choi continued. And more importantly, they've shown us how to kill them, Dr. Song smiled coldly. The aliens think we're children playing with dangerous toys. They have no idea that children who grow up in dangerous neighborhoods learn to fight very, very dirty. Admiral Lee stood up. Ma'am, should we begin moving our hidden assets into final positions? Not yet, President Choi replied. Let them think they have us cornered. Let them bring even more ships into our system. The bigger their fleet, the greater our victory will be. General Wang looked confused. Ma'am, with respect, 3,000 alien ships against our fleet? Against the fleet they can see, President Choi interrupted. General, the aliens have spent 3 months examining museum pieces. They've been studying the ships we built to show them, not the ships we built to kill them. She turned to look out the window at the stars, where alien vessels waited like vultures. They want 30 days? Fine. That gives us time to let them position more targets for us. Her voice was hard as steel. In 30 days, the Galactic Confederation is going to learn why you should never threaten Earth. Above the planet, alien ships continued their surveillance, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Their scanners showed them exactly what they expected to see. Primitive human vessels with crude weapons, helpless before Confederation might. None of their sensors detected the massive installations hidden in asteroid fields or the weapon platforms concealed in the planet's magnetic field, or the fleet of human warships that had been built in absolute secrecy over the past 5 years. The aliens had made their ultimatum, but they had no idea that Earth had been preparing for this war since the day humanity first detected their signals. In 30 days, they would discover that some species fight back, and when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years earlier, deep beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex, Dr. Eugene Song had been analyzing the first alien radio signals ever detected by human instruments. The discovery should have been the greatest moment in human history, but all she felt was cold dread. The signals are definitely artificial, she had reported to General Mincio Wang that day. Multiple sources, highly advanced encryption, and they're coming from at least 12 different star systems. General Wang had studied the data with the same sick feeling in her stomach. 12 different systems means 12 different species. This isn't just first contact. We're looking at an entire galactic civilization. And they're all talking to each other, Dr. Song had added grimly. The signal patterns suggest they've been in contact for thousands of years. We're not joining a community of equals, General. We're being discovered by an empire. That conversation had led to the most secret project in human history, Project Sleipnir. Named after the 8-legged horse of Norse mythology that could travel between worlds, it was Earth's desperate attempt to prepare for the inevitable day when those alien signals would be followed by alien ships. Now, 3 months after first, Contact Chief Engineer Woo Jin Nam stood in a hidden construction facility built inside the asteroid series. Around him, thousands of workers put the finishing touches on humanity's real military fleet. Status report, Woo Jin called out to his section chiefs. Dreadnought Squadron 7 is complete and ready for deployment, reported Engineer Hae Wan Yu. All weapon systems tested and operational. Kinetic bombardment platforms are online throughout the asteroid belt, added Engineer Tae Sung Kim. We can drop tungsten rain on any target in the inner system within 6 minutes. Woo Jin nodded with satisfaction. The ships being built here looked nothing like the vessels the aliens had toured. Where the Indomitable and her sister ships were bulky and obvious, these new warships were lean predators designed for one purpose: killing alien vessels as efficiently as possible. The humans had learned from every piece of alien technology they could observe. The beautiful energy shields that protected Confederation ships were incredibly effective against directed energy weapons, but they had a fatal flaw. They were designed to stop energy, not matter. How are the railgun tests progressing? Woo Jin asked. Beyond all expectations, Hae Wan replied with a fierce grin. The magnetic acceleration tunnels can push a tungsten rod to 20% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small projectile carries the kinetic energy of a nuclear weapon. The aliens had laughed at human primitive projectile weapons, not understanding that humans had turned those projectiles into relativistic kill vehicles. A chunk of metal moving at 20% of light speed didn't just penetrate armor, it passed through matter like it wasn't there. In another part of the facility, Dr. Song was reviewing the latest intelligence reports from the hidden observation posts scattered throughout the solar system. "The aliens are still scanning our decoy fleet," she told General Wang via encrypted communication. "They think those museum pieces represent our actual military capability." "Good," the general replied. "Let them keep believing we're harmless. How are our stealth systems performing?" "Perfectly. The gravitational field generators are keeping our real ships completely invisible to their sensors. As far as the aliens know, humanity has exactly 137 military vessels, all of them pathetically armed and armored." The truth was very different. Hidden throughout the solar system were over 800 human warships, each one specifically designed to exploit the weaknesses in alien technology. They were ugly, brutal machines that prioritized function over form, built by a species that had learned warfare through thousands of years of killing each other. "What about the alien fleet positioning?" General Wang asked. "They're making our job easier," Dr. Song replied with dark satisfaction. "By surrounding us, they've trapped themselves in a confined space where our weapons will be most effective. They think they're laying siege to Earth, but they're actually walking into the largest kill box in human history." The real genius of Project Sleipnir wasn't just the ships, though. It was the complete transformation of the solar system into a weapon. Engineer Dongmin Lee was responsible for the asteroid belt modifications. Working in absolute secrecy, his teams had converted hundreds of rocks into kinetic bombardment platforms. Each asteroid now contained magnetic launchers capable of hurling tungsten projectiles across the solar system at devastating velocities. "The aliens keep scanning the belt for mining operations," he reported to Wu Jin. "They see exactly what we want them to see: primitive extraction equipment and small transport ships. They have no idea that every major asteroid is now a weapons platform. Even Earth's moon had been weaponized. Hidden on the far side, where alien sensors couldn't detect them, massive railgun installations waited for their moment to fire. The aliens thought Luna was just a barren rock, not realizing it was the largest fortress in human space." Captain So-Ra Kim, who had given the aliens their tour of the Indomitable, was now aboard the hidden dreadnought Retribution. The difference between the two ships was like comparing a stone axe to a laser scalpel. "All stealth systems are green," her tactical officer reported. "The aliens have passed within 10 kilometers of our position twice this week. No reaction whatsoever." The Retribution was a kilometer long and bristled with weapons that would have been unimaginable to the engineers who built humanity's first spaceships. Every system was designed around a single principle: kill alien ships before they could react. "How long until we can engage?" Captain Kim asked. "Whenever the general gives the word," her weapons officer replied. "All target solutions are locked in. We can put tungsten rounds through every alien ship in the system within 30 seconds of firing." The aliens had no idea how thoroughly they had been studied. Every casual demonstration of their technology, every arrogant display of their capabilities, had been recorded and analyzed by human scientists who understood that their species' survival depended on finding weaknesses in seemingly superior systems. Dr. Song had led the analysis teams that dissected alien technology from intercepted communications and sensor readings. What they discovered was both encouraging and terrifying. "The aliens are incredibly advanced," she had explained to the project leaders, "but they've grown complacent. Their shields are designed to stop the energy weapons that galactic civilizations have used for thousands of years. They've never encountered a species primitive enough to still use kinetic weapons. More importantly, the aliens had standardized their technology across the entire Confederation. Every species used the same shield frequencies, the same engine, signatures, the same communication protocols. It was efficient, but it also meant that finding one weakness was finding them all. Their energy shields have a fatal flaw, Dr. Song had continued. They're calibrated to deflect directed energy, but they actually accelerate kinetic projectiles. Fire a tungsten rod at their shields, and the shields will speed it up, not slow it down. The humans had also discovered that alien ships were built for intimidation as much as function. They were large, beautiful, and impressive, but they sacrificed armor for aesthetics. A species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia had forgotten that some enemies fought back. General Wong reviewed the final preparations from her command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Every screen showed green status lights as humanity's. Hidden fleet reported ready for combat. 5 years of preparation, she said to her aide, Major Ji-Hoon Yoon. 5 years of building in secret, training in simulation, and planning for this exact moment. Do you think they suspect anything? Major Yoon asked. They're about to find out that humans are very good at 3 things, General Wang replied grimly. Building weapons, hiding our true strength, and killing anything that threatens our family. Above them, the alien fleet continued its lazy patrol of the solar system, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They had given humanity 30 days to surrender, certain that no primitive species would be foolish enough to resist the might of the Galactic Confederation. They were about to learn that humanity had spent 5 years preparing for exactly that kind of foolishness. In hidden bases throughout the solar system, human warriors waited for the signal to reveal what Earth had really been building while the aliens laughed at their primitive weapons. The galaxy was about to discover that the most dangerous species wasn't always the most advanced one. Sometimes it was the one with nothing left to lose. The countdown had reached its final week. Throughout the solar system, alien ships moved into what they believed were optimal attack positions, while human forces prepared to spring the largest military trap in the history of warfare. Admiral Taemin Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching his tactical display with grim satisfaction. The aliens had demanded that all human military vessels withdraw to Earth orbit as a sign of surrender preparation. They thought this was humanity cowering in fear, but it was actually the final piece of a puzzle 5 years in the making. Signal. From Fleet Command, reported Communications Officer Dong Soo-han. All decoy vessels are to maintain current positions. Continue normal patrol patterns and defensive postures. Acknowledged, Admiral Park replied. Around Earth, the ships the aliens could see continued their routine operations, completely unaware that they were nothing more than bait in a trap that would reshape galactic politics forever. Meanwhile, 300 million kilometers away, Captain Haewon Yu was guiding her dreadnought squadron through the gravitational shadow of Jupiter. The Vengeance and her sister ships used the giant planet's massive magnetic field to mask their signatures, appearing to alien sensors as nothing more than background radiation. Captain, we have visual confirmation of alien fleet movements, her sensor officer reported. They're consolidating their forces for what appears to be a final assault on Earth. Haewon studied the tactical display showing dozens of alien vessels moving through the outer system. Each ship was a work of art, beautiful and deadly, crewed by beings who had never lost a war because they had never faced an enemy desperate enough to fight dirty. All ships maintain stealth protocols, she ordered. Let them think they own this system. In 72 hours, they'll learn the difference between owning something and controlling it. The human stealth technology was revolutionary in its simplicity. Instead of trying to hide from alien sensors, human engineers had learned to make their ships appear as something else entirely. The dreadnoughts registered as asteroid fragments. The missile platforms looked like communications satellites, and the weapon installations seemed to be mining equipment. Dr. Yujin Song monitored the deception from her command center in the asteroid belt. Her teams had spent months perfecting the art of technological camouflage, using the aliens' own advanced sensors against them. "The enemy is seeing exactly what we want them to see," she reported to General Minseo Wang. "Their scans show outdated, human ships in predictable positions, while our real fleet remains completely invisible." "What about their force disposition?" the general asked. "Better than we hoped. They've brought over 3,000 ships into the inner system, thinking they need overwhelming force to crush primitive human resistance. They're so confident that they're not even maintaining proper combat formations. The aliens had made every mistake possible when fighting an unknown enemy. They had underestimated their opponent, revealed their capabilities, and positioned their forces for maximum psychological impact rather than tactical advantage. Most critically, they had allowed themselves to be drawn into confined space where human weapons would be most effective." Intelligence Director Ji Ho Kong had been instrumental in encouraging these mistakes. His teams had carefully fed information to alien spies, painting a picture of human panic and disorganization that was completely false. "Our sources inside the alien fleet report that they're planning a demonstration attack," he briefed the command staff. "They want to destroy a few human installations to encourage surrender, then move in for occupation." "Perfect," General Wang replied with cold satisfaction. "Let them fire the first shot. The moment they attack any human target, every species in the galaxy will know that the Confederation started this war. The legal and political implications were as important as the military ones. Humanity needed to be seen as the victim, not the aggressor, when the battle was over and the galaxy demanded explanations." Captain Sora Kim was positioned aboard the hidden command ship Retribution, monitoring alien communications from her position in Earth's magnetic field. The enemy had no idea that human technology could intercept and decode their transmissions in real time. "The alien commanders are arguing about timing," she reported. "Some want to attack immediately, others prefer to wait for additional reinforcements." "What's the current alien strength?" asked her tactical officer, Commander Tae-jun-oh. 3,247 vessels confirmed, Sora replied. 12 different species, all using standardized Confederation technology. Every weakness we've identified applies to their entire fleet. The Confederation's greatest strength, their unified technology base, was about to become their greatest weakness. Humans had found the flaws in their shield systems, their weapons, their engines, and their armor. What worked against one alien ship would work against all of them. Engineer Wu Jin Nam was making final preparations to the solar system's hidden weapon platforms. Scattered throughout the asteroid belt, disguised as mining equipment, hundreds of kinetic bombardment systems waited for their moment to fire. "All asteroid-based platforms report ready," he announced to the command network. "We can deliver tungsten rain to any point in the inner system within 6 minutes of target designation." "What about the outer system platforms?" asked his aide. "Engineer Min-Kyu-oh. Those will take longer to reach Earth orbit, but they'll have the highest impact velocities. By the time our projectiles reach the alien fleet, they'll be moving at 25% of light speed." The mathematics of kinetic warfare were brutal in their simplicity. A small piece of metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed carried more destructive energy than most nuclear weapons. The aliens' energy shields would not just fail to stop such projectiles, they would actually accelerate them. On Earth itself, President Da-Yun Choi was addressing the planet's leadership in what the aliens believed was a surrender preparation meeting. In reality, she was coordinating the final phase of humanity's war plan. In 60 hours, the aliens will likely begin their attack, she announced to the assembled heads of state. When they do, they will discover that Earth has been preparing for this moment since the day we detected their first transmission. Madam President, asked the Prime Minister of the European Federation, are we certain our people are ready for what's coming? Our people have been ready for 5 years, she replied firmly. Every human in the solar system knows that this day would come. Our civilian populations are in hardened shelters, our essential systems are protected, and our military is positioned to deliver the most devastating first strike in the history of warfare. The President activated a display showing the true disposition of human forces. The assembled leaders stared in amazement at the revelation of what their species had built while pretending to be helpless primitives. Ladies and gentlemen, President, Choi continued, the aliens are about to learn that humans don't build monuments to our technology. We build weapons. Admiral Hyunwoo Lee was coordinating the final positioning of human forces from his command post on the moon's far side. Hidden beneath the lunar surface, massive railgun installations prepared to reveal themselves for the first time. All lunar batteries report ready for engagement, his artillery commander announced. We have firing solutions on every alien vessel in Earth orbit. Hold position until the shooting starts, Admiral Lee ordered. Let them think they have us surrounded. The bigger the surprise, the more complete our victory will be. Throughout the solar system, human warriors waited in hidden positions for the signal to begin humanity's first interstellar war. They were outnumbered 10-1 by an enemy with superior technology, but they had advantages the aliens couldn't imagine: desperation, cunning, and 5 years of preparation for exactly this battle. The aliens continued their final approach to Earth, confident that their overwhelming force would quickly crush any primitive resistance. Their formations were designed for intimidation rather than combat effectiveness, their ships positioned for maximum psychological impact rather than tactical advantage. They had no idea that every movement was being tracked by sensors they couldn't detect, that every ship was already targeted by weapons they didn't know existed, and that their entire fleet was sailing into a kill zone carefully constructed by a species that understood the most important rule of warfare. It doesn't matter how advanced. Your enemy is if you can hit them first, hit them hard, and hit them when they're not expecting it. The trap was set. The bait was in position. All that remained was for the aliens to make the final mistake that would trigger humanity's response. In less than 72 hours, the galaxy would discover what happened when you underestimated Earth. The moment of truth arrived on a Tuesday morning, Earth Standard Time. Fleet Admiral Zet Hara of the Galactic Confederation stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Harmony, watching Earth grow larger on the main display. Around her, the largest military fleet in galactic history spread across space like a constellation of deadly stars. Final communication from the human leadership? She asked her communications officer. They request additional time to consider our generous offer, the officer replied with barely concealed contempt. The primitive creatures still believe they have choices in this matter. Zet Hara's 4 arms gestured dismissively. Her species, the Veltar, had been conquering lesser races for 3,000 years. Humans were no different from any other primitive species that needed to learn their place in the galactic order. "How long since we issued the ultimatum?" she asked. 30 Earth days, 6 hours and 14 minutes, her aide responded precisely. "More than generous," Zethara declared. "Open a channel to all ships. It is time to demonstrate Confederation. Resolve." Throughout the alien fleet, commanders received their orders with satisfaction. The humans had been given every opportunity to surrender peacefully. Now they would learn what happened to species that defied the Confederation's will. On Earth, President Da-Un Choi sat in the Emergency Command Center beneath Geneva, watching the alien fleet take attack positions. Every screen around her showed green lights as humanity's hidden forces reported ready status. "Ma'am," Admiral Hyun-Woo Lee reported, "alien communications indicate they're preparing to begin their demonstration attack." "Targets?" she asked. "Luna Base 7 and the orbital. Manufacturing platform above New Singapore," Intelligence Director Ji-Ho Kang replied. "They're choosing targets that will cause maximum psychological impact while minimizing the damage to infrastructure they want to capture." President Choi nodded grimly. The aliens were being predictably logical, selecting targets that would break human morale without reducing the value of their conquest. They had no idea that they were about to trigger the most devastating military response in the history of warfare. "All stations, this is command," she announced to the Global Defense Network. "Protocol Mjolnir is now in effect. All units stand ready to engage on confirmation of hostile action." Across the solar system, human warriors received the signal they had trained for during 5 years of secret preparation. In hidden bases, aboard invisible ships, and inside camouflaged installations, Earth's true military strength prepared to reveal itself. Captain Sora Kim watched the tactical display aboard, the stealth dreadnought Retribution, as alien ships moved into firing positions. Her vessel hung motionless in Earth's magnetic field, completely invisible to Confederation sensors, with firing solutions locked onto every enemy vessel in the local area. "Captain," her weapons officer reported, "we have confirmed locks on 47 alien ships, all railguns charged and ready. Hold fire until they shoot first," Sora ordered. "The moment any alien weapon discharges, we light them up." The legal and moral implications were critical. Earth needed to be clearly defending itself, not starting an unprovoked war. The aliens had to fire first, even though that would mean accepting some casualties. Admiral Zethara studied the tactical display showing human defensive positions around Earth. The primitive creatures had pulled their pathetic fleet back to their home planet in obvious terror. Their ships clustered around their orbital installations like children hiding behind their parents. "Begin the demonstration," she ordered. The Eternal Harmony rotated slowly, bringing its main weapons to bear on Luna Base 7. The installation was clearly visible on the moon's surface, a cluster of domes and landing pads that represented humanity's most advanced off-world facility. "Charging main plasma batteries," the weapons officer announced. "Target locked and ready to fire." "Fire," Zethara commanded. A beam of brilliant energy lanced out from the alien flagship, crossing the distance to Luna in seconds. It struck the human base with devastating precision, vaporizing several buildings and sending debris flying across the lunar surface. The message was clear. Resistance was futile. At the same instant, 3 more alien ships opened fire on the orbital platform above Singapore. The structure vanished in a ball of superheated gas, its destruction visible to everyone on Earth's night side. The Confederation had fired the first shots. Now they would discover what happened when you attacked humanity's home. All units. Weapons. Free! President Choi's voice echoed across every human military frequency. Show them what Earth really built. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the solar system, human weapons that had been hidden for 5 years suddenly revealed themselves in a blaze of kinetic destruction that caught the alien fleet completely off guard. Captain Kim's dreadnought fired first, its massive rail, guns sending tungsten rods screaming toward alien targets at 20% of light speed. The projectiles crossed space in seconds, striking Confederation shields with the force of nuclear weapons. The alien energy barriers, designed to deflect, directed energy, not only failed to stop the kinetic projectiles, but actually accelerated them. The tungsten rods punched through alien hulls like they were made of paper, continuing through multiple ships before their energy was finally exhausted. Direct hits on targets 1 through 6, the weapons officer shouted. All enemy vessels, destroyed or disabled. Across the fleet, identical scenes played out as hidden human forces opened fire simultaneously. The aliens found themselves under attack from directions they hadn't even known were occupied, by weapons they couldn't detect until the projectiles were already tearing through their ships. Admiral Zethara stared in shock as her tactical display lit up with damage reports. In the first 10 seconds of combat, she had lost over 200 ships to an enemy she had thought was helpless. "Where are these attacks coming from?" she demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," her sensor operator replied frantically. "We're detecting kinetic projectiles from multiple sources, but we can't locate the launch platforms." Impossible. Our scans showed only primitive human vessels clustered around their planet. The truth hit her like a physical blow. The humans had been hiding their real military strength, showing the aliens exactly what they wanted to see while preparing a devastating surprise attack. Engineer Wu Jin Nam activated the asteroid belt weapons platforms from his command post on Ceres. Hundreds of hidden installations revealed themselves simultaneously, launching tungsten projectiles from throughout the solar system toward the alien fleet. "All platforms firing," he reported. "Estimated time to target 6 minutes for inner system strikes, 12 minutes for maximum velocity shots from the outer belt." The aliens suddenly found themselves in the middle of a kinetic storm as tungsten rain began falling on their formations from every direction. Ships that had survived the first wave of attacks found themselves under bombardment from weapons they couldn't even see. Captain Haewon Yu brought her dreadnought squadron out of Jupiter's shadow, adding their firepower to the devastating assault. The Vengeance and her sisters had been specifically designed to exploit Confederation weaknesses, and they performed exactly as intended. "All ships, concentrate fire on the alien command vessels," she ordered. "Take out their coordination and the rest will fall apart." On the moon's far side, Admiral Lee's hidden artillery installations revealed themselves for the first time. Massive railguns that had been disguised as mining equipment emerged from concealed positions, adding their voices to humanity's devastating chorus. "Lunar batteries online," he announced. "Engaging enemy vessels in Earth orbit." The tungsten rounds fired from the moon's surface carried even more kinetic energy than those launched from the fleet, having been accelerated through longer magnetic tunnels. They struck alien ships with such force that the vessels simply disintegrated on impact. Fleet Admiral Zethara watched her mighty fleet being torn apart by an enemy she had fatally underestimated. The humans weren't fighting like any other species in galactic history. They had turned their entire solar system into a weapon, using kinetic projectiles that rendered Confederation shields useless. "All ships, emergency withdrawal," she broadcast, desperately. "Reform outside the system perimeter." But it was too late. The humans had planned for exactly this moment, positioning their forces to prevent escape as well as to attack. Alien ships trying to flee found themselves flying directly into additional kinetic bombardment from hidden platforms throughout the outer system. Dr. Yujin Song monitored the battle from her command center, watching as 5 years of preparation delivered exactly the results they had calculated. The aliens' standardized technology, their reliance on energy shields, their assumption of superiority, every advantage had been turned against them. "Alien casualties?" she asked her aide. "Conservative. Estimates put their losses at over 60% and climbing," Commander Tae Jun-oh replied. "Their fleet cohesion is completely broken. Individual ships are trying to escape in all directions." "Let them run," Dr. Song said coldly. "The ones that survive will carry word back to the Confederation about what happens when you threaten Earth." The Battle of Seoul continued for 3 more hours, but the outcome had been decided in the first 10 seconds. Humanity's carefully planned surprise the Battle of Seoul had begun, and within the first hour, it became clear that this would be unlike any conflict in galactic history. The beautiful Confederation fleet, spread across space in perfect formation, was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they couldn't see, using weapons they couldn't understand. Captain Woo Jin Nam aboard the stealth destroyer. Fury watched his tactical display with grim satisfaction as tungsten rounds from the asteroid belt installations began reaching their targets. Each projectile had been accelerated to incredible velocities during its journey across the solar system, and when they struck alien ships, the results were devastating. "Impact on alien heavy cruiser bearing 270, his weapons officer reported. "Target destroyed, complete hull breach." The alien ship simply came apart as the tungsten rod punched through its crystalline structure. The beautiful energy shields that had protected Confederation vessels for thousands of years were worse than useless against kinetic weapons. They actually increased the projectile's velocity. Throughout the solar system, human forces continued their coordinated assault. Fleet Commander Junho Shin had positioned his ships to use Earth's gravity well as a natural accelerator, slingshotting tungsten rounds around the planet to achieve even higher impact velocities. "All ships, adjust firing solutions for gravitational." "Assist!" he ordered. "Use Luna's gravity well to curve your shots around Earth's defensive satellites." The physics of the attack were as elegant as they were deadly. Human engineers had turned the solar system's own gravitational fields into part of their weapon system, bending the paths of kinetic projectiles to strike targets from unexpected angles. Admiral Zethara's flagship shuddered as a tungsten round grazed its hull, tearing away entire sections of the ship's artistic outer structure. Her bridge crew worked frantically to coordinate a response, but they were fighting an enemy that existed everywhere and nowhere. "Damage report," she demanded. "Primary. Shields are overloading," her engineer replied. "These kinetic weapons are feeding energy back into our shield generators. Every hit makes our defenses weaker, not stronger." "How is that possible?" "The projectiles are moving so fast that our shields are treating them as coherent energy streams," the engineer explained desperately. "The shield matrix is trying to redirect their momentum, but the energy involved is too great." Zethara felt her confidence crumbling as she realized the full scope of humanity's trap. The humans hadn't just built different weapons. They had built weapons specifically designed to exploit Confederation technology. Captain Haewon Yu's Dreadnought Squadron emerged from behind Jupiter like avenging angels, their massive forms, bristling with railguns that had been charging for hours. The Vengeance alone carried enough kinetic firepower to destroy a small moon. All ships, concentrated bombardment of the alien command cluster, she ordered. Show them what humans do to uninvited guests. The dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously, sending a coordinated barrage of tungsten death toward the center of the alien formation. The projectiles were so massive and moving so fast that they created visible streaks of light as they tore through space. Engineer Min-Q monitored the bombardment from his asteroid-based command post, watching as human weapons platforms throughout. The belt added their firepower to the devastating assault. Each installation had been disguised as mining equipment for months, allowing them to target alien ships from point-blank range. Platform 77 reports direct hit on alien dreadnought, he announced. Target is breaking apart. The alien vessel, a work of art that had taken decades to grow in orbital gardens, disintegrated as tungsten rounds tore through its organic hull. Its death sent shockwaves through the Confederation fleet as commanders realized they were facing weapons that could destroy their most powerful ships with single shots. On the moon's hidden side, Admiral Hyun-Woo Lee's artillery batteries had joined the bombardment with devastating effect. The lunar railguns were the most powerful weapons in the human arsenal, capable of accelerating projectiles to 25% of light speed. Target the alien carriers, he ordered. Destroy their fighter support. The tungsten rounds fired from Luna's surface carried so much kinetic energy that they passed completely through their targets, continuing on to strike additional ships behind them. Single shots were destroying multiple alien vessels as the projectiles maintained their deadly momentum. Dr. Yoo-Jin Song watched the tactical display from her command center, analyzing the battle's progress with scientific precision. Every simulation had predicted this outcome, but seeing it happen in reality was still breathtaking. Alien fleet cohesion is collapsing, she reported to General Minseo Wang. They're trying to withdraw, but our outer system platforms are intercepting their retreat routes. Casualties? The general asked. Conservative estimates. 70% of the alien fleet destroyed or disabled. We're tracking less than 1,000 intact vessels out of their original 3,000. The humans had turned the Confederation's greatest strength against them. The standardized technology that allowed different species to fight together also meant that every ship shared the same weaknesses. Once humanity found a way to exploit those weaknesses, the entire fleet became vulnerable. Captain Sora Kim's stealth cruiser Retribution had been systematically hunting alien command ships, using her invisibility to get close enough for guaranteed kills. Her crew had become experts at reading alien formations, identifying which vessels contained the enemy's leadership. Target acquired, her weapons officer announced. Alien Fleet Command vessel, bearing 185, range 12,000 kilometers. Fire, Sora ordered. The tungsten round covered the distance in milliseconds, striking the alien command ship amidships. The vessel's beautiful crystalline structure shattered like glass, sending debris spinning through space in a glittering cloud of destruction. Throughout the alien fleet, panic was spreading as commanders realized they were being systematically eliminated by an enemy they couldn't fight back against. Their energy weapons were designed for long-range precision strikes, but they couldn't target enemies. They couldn't detect. We need to withdraw to minimum safe distance, Admiral Zethara's tactical officer pleaded. Our ships are being destroyed faster than we can count them. Withdraw to where? Zethara replied bitterly. The humans have weapons platforms throughout this entire system. There is no safe distance. She was right. Human engineers had spent 5 years turning the solar system into the ultimate kill zone, positioning kinetic weapons from Mercury's orbit to the outer edge of the asteroid belt. No matter which direction the aliens fled, they ran into more tungsten death. Engineer Wu Jin Nam coordinated the outer system bombardment from his hidden base on Ceres. His weapons platforms had the longest range and highest impact velocities, capable of striking targets anywhere in the inner system. Platforms 12 through 18, target the alien reserve fleet near Mars, he ordered. Don't let any of them escape to report our capabilities. The tungsten rounds launched from the outer belt would take 12 minutes to reach their targets. But when they arrived, they would be moving at such incredible speeds that even glancing hits would destroy enemy vessels. The aliens had made every possible mistake when facing an unknown enemy. They had revealed their technology, positioned their forces poorly, and most critically, they had underestimated an opponent who had spent years preparing for exactly this battle. Captain Tae-Sung Kim's missile destroyer added a new dimension to the human attack, launching swarms of kinetic kill vehicles that sought out alien ships like hungry predators. Each missile carried a small tungsten warhead that exploded on impact, sending metal fragments through enemy hulls at relativistic speeds. All missiles away, he reported. Target-seeking kinetics will reach the alien fleet in 4 minutes. The Confederation commanders watched in horror as their sensors detected hundreds of incoming projectiles, each one moving too fast to intercept. Their point defense systems, designed to stop energy weapons and conventional missiles, were helpless against kinetic warheads traveling at significant fractions of light speed. Admiral Zethara made the hardest decision of her long military career as she watched her magnificent fleet being torn apart by primitives who fought like rabid animals. All ships, emergency withdrawal, she broadcast on all frequencies. Retreat to the edge of the system. Do not attempt to maintain formation. The proud Confederation fleet that had arrived to crush human resistance began fleeing in all directions, their perfect formations dissolving into panicked chaos as individual ships tried desperately to escape. The kinetic storm that was destroying everything they had built. But even in retreat, the aliens found no safety. Human weapons platforms tracked their movements, sending tungsten death chasing after fleeing vessels. The humans had planned for this moment, positioning their forces to prevent escape as effectively as they had arranged them to attack. The Battle of Sol continued for 6 more hours, but the outcome had been decided in the first 10 minutes. Humanity's surprise attack had shattered the most powerful military force in galactic history, proving that victory belonged not to the most advanced species, but to the one that planned best and fought hardest. When the debris finally stopped flying, as the Battle of Sol entered its final phase, the surviving alien commanders began to understand that they had encountered something unprecedented in galactic history. This wasn't just a military defeat. It was a complete revelation of what humanity truly was beneath their veneer of primitive technology. Admiral Zethara huddled in the damaged command center of her flagship, desperately trying to establish contact with the Confederation High Command. Around her, the remnants of the greatest fleet ever assembled fled in all directions, pursued by tungsten death that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Communications are still jammed, her aide reported with barely controlled panic. The humans are broadcasting white noise across all frequencies. We can't contact our reinforcements. What reinforcements? Zethara replied bitterly. Any ships that enter this system will face the same slaughter we did. The Admiral activated her personal recorder, knowing that someone needed to document what had happened here. If she didn't survive, at least the Confederation would understand the magnitude of their mistake. "Command log, Fleet Admiral Zethara, emergency entry," she began. "The human species is not what we believed. They are not primitive. They are not harmless. They are the most dangerous predators this galaxy has ever seen." Throughout the alien fleet, similar realizations were dawning. Captain Mordun of the hegemony cruiser Crystal Song watched in horror as human ships began systematically hunting down fleeing vessels. These weren't the clumsy metal boxes the aliens had toured months ago. These were sleek instruments of death that moved through space like sharks through water. "They've been planning this," he said to his crew. Every casual question, every tour of their ships, every demonstration of our technology. They were studying us, learning how to kill us. Dr. Yujin Song monitored alien communications from her command center, listening to the growing panic in enemy transmissions. The aliens were finally beginning to understand what they had stumbled into. "General," she reported to Minseo Wang, "we're intercepting communications that suggest the aliens are recognizing the true scope of our preparations." "Good," the general replied grimly. "Let them understand that humanity doesn't build monuments to our achievements. We build weapons to protect our family." The truth was becoming clear to every surviving alien. Earth hadn't just defended itself. It had turned its entire solar system into the ultimate weapon. Every asteroid, every orbital platform, every seemingly innocent piece of space infrastructure had been converted into part of a vast killing machine. Captain Min-Q commanded one of humanity's most disturbing weapons, a ship designed for ramming attacks. The kamikaze was built around a massive kinetic ram that could punch through any known armor at relativistic speeds. "Captain," his tactical officer asked nervously, "are we really going to ram that alien dreadnought?" "Absolutely," Min-Q replied with fierce determination. "The aliens want to see what humans do when they're cornered. Let's show them." The kamikaze accelerated toward the alien vessel at maximum burn, her crew secured in impact pods designed to survive the collision. This wasn't suicide. This was calculated destruction using humanity's willingness to take extreme risks that no other species would consider. The alien crew of the targeted dreadnought watched in disbelief as the human ship approached on a collision course. In their thousands of years of galactic warfare, no species had ever used ramming attacks. It was considered barbaric, wasteful, and tactically unsound. They were about to learn that humans didn't care about galactic conventions. The kamikaze struck the alien dreadnought at 20% of light speed, creating an explosion that lit up half the solar system. Both ships were destroyed instantly, but the psychological impact on the remaining alien forces was devastating. "They're insane!" broadcast an alien captain on an open frequency. "The humans are using their own ships as weapons." General Minseo Wang listened to the alien communications with cold satisfaction. Fear was spreading through the enemy fleet as they realized they weren't fighting a conventional military force. They were fighting a species that viewed warfare as total existential conflict. "Sir," her aide Major Ji-Hoon Yoon reported, "we're detecting multiple alien ships attempting to surrender." "No prisoners," the general replied without hesitation. "Any ship that entered our system with hostile intent doesn't leave. Period." The decision was harsh, but necessary. Earth couldn't risk any alien survivors reporting humanity's true capabilities to the rest of the galaxy. The Confederation needed to believe their fleet had simply vanished, not that they had been defeated by superior tactics and preparation. Captain Haewon Yu's dreadnought squadron continued their systematic destruction of fleeing alien vessels. The Vengeance had been built for exactly this kind of operation, hunting down enemies who thought they could escape. "Target the alien fast cruisers first," she ordered. "Don't let their fastest ships carry word back to the Confederation." The humans had learned from history that leaving survivors to tell tales led to larger enemy forces returning for revenge. Better to be thorough now than face an entire galactic armada later. Engineer Wu Jin Nam coordinated the final phase of the battle from his asteroid base, using long-range kinetic platforms to pick off alien ships trying to escape through the outer system. His weapons had been designed for exactly this scenario, preventing any enemy from leaving human space. Platform 37 reports successful intercept of alien reconnaissance ship, he announced. "No survivors." "Excellent," Dr. Song replied. "Continue systematic elimination of all hostile contacts. I want this system swept clean." The aliens were learning that humans didn't fight wars the way other species did. There were no concepts of honor, mercy, or proportional response. When humanity's survival was threatened, they became utterly ruthless in their efficiency. Admiral Zet Hara's flagship shuddered as another tungsten round grazed its hull, reminding her that escape was still uncertain. She continued her log entry, knowing that documenting humanity's true nature might be her final service to the Confederation. "The humans have weaponized their entire star system," she recorded. "Every piece of space debris, every orbital facility, every seemingly innocent installation is part of a vast killing machine. They have turned physics itself into a weapon." She paused, watching another alien ship die in a ball of superheated gas as human kinetic rounds found their mark. "More disturbing is their tactical philosophy," she continued. "They don't seek to defeat enemies. They seek to eliminate them completely. No quarter is given. No survivors are taken. They fight like cornered animals with nothing left to lose." Captain So-Ra Kim's stealth cruiser continued its deadly hunt through the debris field, seeking out damaged alien vessels trying to hide among the wreckage. Her orders were simple. No alien ship leaves the system. Contact on passive sensors, her tactical officer reported. "Alien frigate, heavily damaged, attempting to mask its signature in the debris field." "Take us in close," Captain Kim ordered. "Make sure it's a clean kill." The human approach to warfare was becoming clear to any alien intelligent enough to recognize the pattern. Earth didn't just want to win this battle. They wanted to send a message to the entire galaxy about what happened when humanity was threatened. Dr. Song received the final tactical reports as the last alien resistance collapsed. The Battle of Sol was effectively over, with human forces maintaining complete control of their star system. "Final casualty assessment?" General Wang asked. "Alien losses, 94% of their original fleet strength," Dr. Song reported. "Human losses, 18 ships and installations, mostly from their initial demonstration attack. And survivors? Fewer. Then 200 alien vessels escaped the system. All were damaged most critically. None carried detailed sensor records of our capabilities." General Wang nodded with grim satisfaction. The message would reach the Confederation, but in the form of terrified survivors babbling about impossible human weapons rather than detailed intelligence reports. The Battle of Sol ended not with a ceasefire or negotiation, but with the complete elimination of alien presence from human space. The few ships that escaped carried with them the knowledge that Earth was not the primitive world the Confederation had expected. They had discovered that humans were something far more dangerous, a species that planned for war during peacetime, that turned their entire civilization into a weapon when threatened, and that fought with a ruthless efficiency that would make the galaxy's greatest predators pause in respect. The survivors would carry this knowledge back to Confederation space, where their reports would fundamentally change how the galaxy viewed the small blue world that had just announced its presence with thunder. Humanity had revealed its true nature, and the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, Admiral Taemin Park stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship, the UES Sovereign, watching the debris field that had once been the pride of the Galactic Confederation. The wreckage served as a monument to humanity's first interstellar victory and a warning to anyone who might consider threatening Earth again. "Admiral," Captain Sora Kim reported from her position at the tactical station, "long-range sensors are detecting another probe at the edge of the system." "Alien?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Same type as the others. Maintaining safe distance. Passive sensors only." Admiral Park nodded. For months, different species had been sending reconnaissance missions to observe the battlefield, trying to understand what had happened to the mighty Confederation fleet. None dared to enter human space, but they watched from afar like scavengers, afraid to approach a fresh kill. President Da Yun-choi's voice crackled over the communication system from Earth. "Admiral Park, you're cleared to broadcast the message on all galactic frequencies." "Understood, Madam President," he replied, then turned to his communications officer. "Lieutenant Han, open channels on all known alien frequencies. Maximum power. Broadcast." The message that went out across the galaxy was simple, direct, and utterly uncompromising. President Choi's voice carried to every corner of Confederation space, translated into hundreds of alien languages by captured communication technology. "To all species of the Galactic Confederation," she began. "This is President Da Yun-choi of the United Earth Government. 6 months ago, your forces entered our star system with the intention of conquest. You demanded our surrender and threatened our destruction when we refused to submit." The message continued as images of the battle played on frequencies the aliens couldn't ignore. The footage showed Confederation ships being systematically destroyed by weapons they couldn't see, using tactics they couldn't understand. "Let this serve as notice to all who would threaten humanity," President Choi's voice continued. "Earth will not be conquered. Earth will not be protected. Earth will not tolerate aggression against our people or our interests. Any species that approaches our space with hostile intent will face the same fate as the Confederation fleet." Captain Wu Jin Nam monitored the broadcast from his new command post aboard the orbital fortress Hammer of Earth. The massive station had been built from salvaged alien technology, incorporating Confederation systems into humanity's kinetic weapons platforms. It was a symbol of how humans adapted and improved on anything they captured. "All alien probe ships are withdrawing to maximum sensor range," he reported. "They're afraid to come any closer." The fear was justified. Earth had used the 6 months since the battle to consolidate their victory and expand their defenses. New kinetic platforms had been built throughout the solar system, using improved designs based on lessons learned during the fighting. Dr. Eugene Song worked tirelessly in her expanded research facility on Luna, where teams of human scientists dissected captured alien technology. Every Confederation ship that had been disabled rather than destroyed provided valuable intelligence about galactic civilization. "The alien technology is impressive but predictable," she reported to General Minseo Wang during their weekly briefing. "They've been using the same basic designs for thousands of years. No innovation, no adaptation to new threats. Unlike humans," the general observed with satisfaction. "Exactly. We've already improved on most of their systems. Our new ships incorporate the best of their technology while maintaining the kinetic weapons that proved so effective. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock building the next generation of human warships. These vessels combined alien energy shields and faster-than-light drives with humanity's devastating kinetic weapons, creating hybrid designs that were superior to anything either species had built alone. Fleet Commander Jun-Ho Shin led humanity's first interstellar expedition aboard the Explorer Pioneer, a ship designed to carry Earth's message to the galaxy. His mission was part diplomacy, part reconnaissance, and part demonstration of human capabilities. "Sir," his navigator reported, "we're approaching the outer edge of hegemony space. Should we announce our presence?" "Negative," Commander Shin replied. "Let them detect us first. I want to see how they react to uninvited human visitors." The Pioneer was deliberately designed to be intimidating. It looked like what it was, a warship capable of destroying anything that threatened it. The sleek hull bristled with railguns and kinetic missile launchers, while its energy shields flickered with barely contained power. When hegemony sensors finally detected the human ship, the response was immediate panic. Within hours, their entire border fleet had withdrawn to defensive positions around their core worlds, leaving the frontier completely undefended. "This is Captain Mordun of the Hegemony Defense Force," came a transmission on standard diplomatic frequencies. "Human vessel, you are entering restricted space. Please state your intentions." Commander Shin recognized the name from intelligence reports. Captain Morden had been one of the few Confederation officers to survive the Battle of Seoul, and his ship had been among those that fled in the final hours. "This is Commander Jun-Ho Shin of the United Earth Space Force," he replied. "We're here to establish diplomatic relations with any species interested in peaceful coexistence with humanity." The pause that followed spoke volumes. The aliens were terrified of the humans they had once considered primitive and harmless. We welcome diplomatic contact," Captain Mordun finally replied, his voice carefully controlled. "However, our government requires advance notice for any meetings. Perhaps you could return in several months?" The translation was obvious. They needed time to prepare defenses and decide how to handle these dangerous new neighbors. Meanwhile, in Confederation space, the political situation was chaotic. The loss of their primary fleet had shattered the military alliance that held dozens of species together. Without the threat of Confederation force, member worlds were beginning to question their loyalty to the central government. Intelligence. Reports reached Earth daily, describing growing unrest and factional conflicts throughout what had once been stable Confederation territory. The humans had accomplished something that centuries of rebellion had failed to achieve. They had broken the Confederation's power with a single battle. Captain Hai Wan Yu commanded the patrol squadron responsible for protecting Earth's expanding sphere of influence. Her ships regularly encountered alien vessels at the edge of human space, but none dared to enter the solar system. "Another group of refugees requesting sanctuary," she reported to Admiral Park. "That makes 37 ships this month." The pattern had become common. Species that had been oppressed by the Confederation saw Earth's victory as an opportunity for freedom. They came seeking protection from humanity, hoping that the species that had defeated their oppressors might shield them from retaliation. "What's our response?" Admiral Park asked. "Standard protocol. We'll provide humanitarian aid and escort them to neutral space, but no permanent protection agreements. Earth isn't in the business of building an empire." The decision reflected humanity's careful approach to their new status. They had proven they could defend themselves, but they had no interest in replacing the Confederation as galactic overlords. President Choi addressed the United Nations Assembly, outlining Earth's new role in galactic politics. The chamber was packed with representatives eager to understand how humanity's victory would change their world. "We didn't fight the Confederation to become conquerors," she explained. "We fought because they threatened our freedom and our survival. Our goal is simple: ensure that Earth remains free and that no species ever again has the power to threaten any other species' independence." The strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Rather than building an empire, Earth would prevent anyone else from building one. The galaxy would become a collection of independent worlds, none strong enough to dominate the others. Engineer Min Q supervised the construction of humanity's first interstellar shipyard in the Alpha Centauri system. The facility would serve as both a forward base and a symbol of Earth's expanding presence in the galaxy. "The alien refugees have been incredibly helpful," he reported to his construction teams. "Their knowledge of galactic engineering standards is allowing us to build ships that can interface with any species' technology." The shipyard represented humanity's new approach to galactic relations. Instead of conquering territory, they were establishing strategic positions that could support any species willing to trade peacefully with Earth. 3 years after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had been completely transformed. The old Confederation was gone, replaced by hundreds of independent worlds that looked to Earth as the guarantor of their freedom. It wasn't an empire in the traditional sense. It was something entirely new. Captain Sora Kim stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above New Geneva, watching ships from dozens of different species dock at Earth's trading ports. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building the foundation of a new galactic civilization based on mutual respect rather than domination. "Hard to believe it's only been 3 years," her aide, Lieutenant Tae-jun Oh, commented. "Sometimes I think the aliens did us a favor," Captain Kim replied. "They forced us to reveal what